People will be happy to sell you a system to solve a problem. Like, oh, don't worry about referrals and introductions. Buy this from us, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. And it sounds utopian, right? Oh, wow, man, I just stroke a check and my problems are solved. Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. We're releasing this episode on Valentine's Day 2025. So I've decided to entitle this episode, Why I Love Referrals and Introductions, So Should You. All right, so before we get into a conversation about something that's very passionate of mine, just a couple things real quick. Number one is that everything works. So, it's not just doing referrals and that's all you do, or COIs and all you do, or seminars and that's all you do. Most advisors need a bit of an allocation, if you will, of different things to continue to drive business forward. And look, and there are some consultants out there who will say these words like real professionals don't seek referrals proactively or anything like that. And isn't that beautiful to hear if you're an advisor? Isn't it just like manna from heaven? Oh, I don't have to worry about doing that because I just have to do a great job and my clients will refer me. And the answer to that is yes, they will. And you'll get about 20% of what you could get by being totally passive. So it's not a bad strategy, right? Serve at the highest level and through osmosis, right? Clients will turn you on to friends, family, colleagues, and coworkers. It's not a bad thing. It's just that it's not being excellent. Things show up. Conversely, there are, especially recently, I've been watching what's going on LinkedIn and some of the conversations by some of the marketing gurus out there who will tell you referrals are dead or you shouldn't rely on them. And what you need to do is, find a marketing system, right? A lead gen system, a business development system. Well, those are like butchers trying to sell everybody meat, right? Everything looks like a hunk of meat to a butcher. So when I say that, it's not to cast any shade on anybody. I think, look, I've got clients that you name a lead generation marketing program. I got from seminars to online lead gens to nurturing sequences to all the above. I've got clients that do it successfully. Okay, so it's not about that. My challenge, though, is they make it sound like, well, if you just do what we sell, you don't have to worry about anything else. Furthest thing from the truth. So today what I want to do is we're going to go macro first, and then I'm going to give you guys some strategy. Now, remember I said the butcher and the meat. So do I have a referral program to sell you? No, I don't. Do I have a referral boot camp I can sell you? No, I don't. Right? So in other words, I'm going to share with you what works, kind of what I train and coach on, some of the results some of my clients have gotten, and I'm going to give you the keys. Like, there's no secrets here. Okay, just all you got to do is do it, and it's going to be embarrassingly easy, but maybe not comfortable. All right, so let's deal with the macro first. So when an advisor comes into my world, right, they want to work with me personally, potentially, if they're qualified, or they're they're just looking to get into Magellan Network and they jump on one of my Zoomcasts and things like that. One of the things that's always shockingly on the board is business growth, right? I mean, that's why we're here. So typically what I like to do, and I'm going to lay out, if you will, kind of, if we were building out a business development marketing plan, kind of buckets. Some of you guys use bucket concepts for allocation, right? When you do equities and assets, I kind of operate the same way. So one of the buckets is going to be, again, if you already have a current book of business, one of the buckets is absolutely going to be optimization. Making sure you have all the outside assets, balance sheets, financial plans, all the insurance are done, maximize the profitability and productivity of a household, right? So that's number one. Number two, referrals and introductions, hence the topic for today. We'll talk about that. Number three, maybe COIs. For a lot of you, it should be COIs, quite frankly, and we're not going to unpack that, but there's, again, a lot of false assumptions on COIs, what they are and stuff like that. Maybe we'll do a conversation on that, maybe next time. And then if you want to have a fourth, right? Maybe it's networking, maybe you do seminars, maybe you're doing one of those online lead gen programs, right? Some sort of nurturing sequence, totally fine. But for most of my clients, anything above 4, unless you've got a large team that can really handle a lot, is too many, right? It's not about dabbling in many things and being okay/mediocre. It's really about being excellent in a few things. Right? So we're going to unpack the second bucket today, which is referrals and introductions. Here are some of the misnomers, falsehoods, limiting beliefs. Okay. I think number one, advisors tend to make referrals about themselves. And when I say referrals and introductions, just the semantics, same thing. Okay. Just that referrals sound bad, somehow introductions sound better. To me, it's the same thing. All right. So basically, if you think about it, when advisors think about referrals and introductions, they think about, well, how that's going to help me, how that's going to grow my business, how it nurtures me, helps my bottom line, stuff like that. And if you think about it, a lot of advisors have what I call relational insecurity with their clients. Like, in other words, they're not really sure how tight the relationship is. So in their mind, subconsciously and consciously, they have this conversation of, well, I know I should remind my clients that I'm here if they know someone, but are they happy with me? I don't know. I don't want to demand something, right, that's going to benefit me. Sounds selfish. And so that's the conversation that most advisors have in their mind, right, from that perspective. And it shuts down any potential scenario. The next falsehood is that this is hard to do, or this is like some laborious process. And I'm going to give you a simple formula in a few minutes. Not laborious, right? Number 3, well, Joe, I just want this kind of client. So if I start asking my clients for introductions, how about if they send me people that are not qualified? What do I do? We'll handle that. We're going to debunk that today. I'll give you a very simple strategy for that. And the list goes on, and it really what it boils down to, and this is where, by the way, this is kind of where the game is played. People will be happy to sell you a system to solve a problem. Like, oh, don't worry about referrals and introductions. Buy this from us, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. And it sounds utopian, right? Oh, wow, man, I just stroke a check and my problems are solved. If you've been around this game for any length of time, you know that you still got to do the work. There's no, turnkey. The word turnkey is interesting. You still got to turn the key, right? It's not like automatic. So just keep that in mind. All right. So let me give you the formula first, and then we're going to give you. So we're going to get a little more. We're going to now peel it back a little bit, get a little bit micro. Okay. If you really think about it, there are a couple things that we need to have happen to generate a name, right? Number one, we, the advisor, need to be aware. We need to keep this aware, right? So in other words, top of mind for you, right? So step one, advisor awareness. Step two, we have to make our clients aware. I'll explain what that means in a little bit. So we control number one, 100%. We can influence number two. We have no control over number three. Number three is timing. The condition has to be present where one of your clients is engaged in a conversation with someone they know, a friend, family, colleague, or coworker, and somehow stock market comes up, investment comes up, retirement planning comes up, whatever comes up. And because we've made them aware, they'll connect the dot for us. But we have no control over that timing. Okay? Super important. The other, I forgot one misnomer, so let me give it to you before I forget. That somehow, in order to get introductions and referrals from your clients, you've got to sit them down. And I use the kind of fun and games. I call it the law and order method, right? You guys watch Law and Order, any cop show, right? They put the person in the box, right? And they interrogate them. So a lot of advisors think that, they got to sit down with their client and have this like direct conversation with a pad and pencil. Hey, who do you know? Who can I call? Can you give me 3 or 5 people? And all that thing. Number one, if you have a lot of rapport, that can be somewhat effective, but for 90% of advisors, it's highly uncomfortable. So why bother? But here's the real issue with it. Once you do that, when can you do it again? Right? Like that gun has 1 bullet, maybe 2 over years, and that's it. So once you fire it and you don't get what you want back, it's a problem. Remember I said, what's item number 3? Timing. So if you don't hit it right, you're not going to get a good result and you can't go back. So I don't like that. All right, just be clear. So number one, how do we get you comfortable? The first thing is that make this not about you. So this is where the advisors really kind of, if you will, screw themselves. Yes, you are the beneficiary. There's no question about that. We're not going to, that's not here to argue. But it's really about helping others. So I'm going to give you one of my epiphanies last year. And I am very much into this landscape. So I see like online lead acquisition programs, seminar programs, and I got clients participating in these. So like I'm not throwing shade on them at all. But here's a question I have. I asked somebody this the other day, and they were like, that's interesting. How does someone who needs and wants to talk to a financial advisor end up on the internet filling out a form and then talking to an advisor they've never met, have no idea who they are, were not referred to them, just some random FA online? Next premise. How does somebody who's looking for financial guidance and help end up either A, on an online seminar, right, or B, sitting in a room, where it's a library, community center, or restaurant, hotel, whatever, with a bunch of other people, listening to an advisor teach, hopefully, and then make a decision on whether or not they should meet with them and then maybe potential hire them? Like, how did we end up there? So here's my reference point. Hi, Coach Joe Lukacs here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. If you took all your clients in a room and had a conversation with them as a group and said, let me ask you guys something. Are you okay if a good friend of yours or a family member or somebody who's seeking help with their money, very important, ends up going with a stranger that they don't know, may or may not be qualified, may or not be fiduciary, may or may not do the right thing? Are you okay with that? Someone you care about. They all would say no. But yet that's what happens. Now, why does that happen? Because we, as an industry, have taken the easy road, the comfortable road, and we are neglect in our responsibility to our clients. And that's why this happens. See, referral gathering is not about, yes, we are the beneficiary, but it's not about us. It's about positioning ourselves as a resource to our clients so that when they come across somebody that they care about, that they're willing to make the connection to us. That's what this is about. Because if that was happening at the level it could and needs to happen, a lot of people will not be talking to strangers. Just wouldn't. That was like one of my epiphanies last year. Like how do we end up here in this situation? So with my personal clients and members of the Magellan Network that we coach in a group format, like literally, some of you who are members know this. Every day, every morning, we talk about this. So I'm going to tell you a quick story, then we'll get into some strategies, shocking strategies. So every year I do a 3-day strategic/business planning conference, live, virtual. And on day 3 is always about business development. Everybody loves talking about business development, right? So I always do it every year. I've done it for the last 15 years. I go around a room and we do the how many names have you sourced contest, right? How many names, how many people, so I'm sourced 5, 10, 15, 20, and stuff like that. So this year being 2024, November, top person in the room, the number I want to say 74, 76 names. Think about that. 74 to 76 names. And he watches this. So love you, Joe. And nicest guy, totally cares about his clients. Would never think he's not a sales dude. He's not one of those guys out there. Just not his. If you met him, you would say, huh. But a great guy, great advisor. You know what he does? The only thing he does is at the end of every review, and here's one of the strategies, at the end of every review, again, premises the review goes well, does 2 things. Number 1, gratitude. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be your advisor. Myself and my team are very grateful for the opportunity to serve you and your family. Right? We'll get some good stuff back. And I just want to remind you that we are always here as a resource for anyone that could use our help. A friend, a family member, a colleague, a coworker. Just keep us in mind if somebody has a need. That's it. That is it. That is the whole program right there. Gratitude, reminder. Now, do you have to use that exact languaging? No. You can use any language you want, as long as it kind of gets the point across, right? Make it yours. I'm cool with that. But that's what you do. So he sourced 76 names. And by the way, this is the way the math works. Everybody knows this. And I've tracked this for decades. So the hardest year is year 1. So here's kind of here's the caveat on this. And this is what trips a lot of advisors up. This is not some silver bullet, get wealthy with referral quick scheme. Okay, this is a little bit of a slow burn over several quarters. But you stay with this, you'll never have to worry about this again the rest of your career. So, 76 names. Half the names are not going to be qualified. So in our data, if you have 10 of those conversations the first year, you'll average about 1 name source for every 10 conversations. So about 10% rate. As you do it year over year, it goes, 1 out of 10 to, now it's 1 out of 8 to now becomes 1. Now this past year was about 1 out of 4, 1 out of 4.5. But he's been doing that for 3 years, maybe 4. They still do COIs. They do sell other stuff, man. This is just like, just like cherry on top of the cake. And out of that, he opened up, I think, 18 new relationships. And he's got he's got 7-figure minimums. I mean, that's the game right there. I mean, let's not even overthink it, right? Yeah, there it is. No, and there's nothing here to sell you guys. Like, I got no super secret stuff, right? That's the game. Now, what else could you do? You could definitely go ahead and, as you talk to clients, remind them, hey, thanks for calling in today, or on a Zoom. Again, gratitude, and as a reminder, hey, just as a reminder, we're always here as a resource, blah, blah, like I just said, right? Simple as that. He did, so you 76 names. He had 200, I think at the time, I think it's now higher, obviously, by the end of the year. He had about 240 to 250 of those conversations last year. Okay? Think about that. Like one per business day. What would happen to your business if the rest of this year, right, let's say 10 months, give or take, that you can have that conversation, I don't know, 2 to 3 times a day. People call in, Zoom in, have a review, things like that. And so we end up with like 15, let's say we end up with 15 a week, times 4, right? Right, that's 15, 30, 60. So let's say I can get you somehow to get you to 500. A couple every day, nothing heavy duty. First year around, you'll source right around 50 names. That's our data. Half of which will not be qualified. Economically, emotionally, not ready for change, money's not right. That's still going to leave you 25. You tell me what your success rate is on a referred person, highly qualified, who needs help. Don't overthink it. And it kind of drives me crazy a little bit. While it's so basic, it's like ridiculously simple. Yet many advisors won't do it. They'll give you every excuse in the book. Now, if you want to goose this up a little bit, I'm going to give you some, here we go, advanced strategies. Ready? Number 1, if you get a name, even if that person's not qualified, send your client a small gift. Gift card, a little something, thank you very much, right? Many of my clients will do what we call an advocate dinner twice a year. So for those clients who gave us a name, irrespective of that person became a client or not, they get invited to dinner. If their referral became a client, they get invited to the dinner. Why? Indoctrination from day one. We want to create a referral and introduction culture, not just within our business, but also within our clients. All right? Everybody get that? Really report. That's the advanced program. All right? Now, some of you are wondering, but Joe, what happens if somebody shows up and they're just, they need help and they're just not economically qualified? So the promise we make to our client is that if you're referring anybody, if you're interested in anybody, I'm going to give them a half hour to an hour of my time. I will help them in any way I can. If it makes sense economically, we'll talk about working together. But if it's not in their best interest to work with me, right, I will send them somewhere. Maybe it's to the bank. Maybe it's to their credit union. Like, I will make sure that they have a path to getting themselves fixed or sorted out, right? That's it. And then some of you saying, well, Joe, when you sit down with the person, like, how do you let them down? And here's the strategy. So if you refer somebody to me and they just didn't meet my economic minimum, I couldn't do it, right? Assuming they're not a family member, a next-gen child or something like that, right? Which is a whole different conversation. The way that we like to language is say, it would be like, hey Tom, hey Mary, I've enjoyed our time. I would love to help you. However, based on the assets that you have and the fees that I would have to charge you to work with me, to hire me, it would just eat into so much of your return. I, in good conscience, just could not recommend that. I have a real fiduciary duty to do what's in your best interest, and hiring me is just not in your best interest at this time. So here's what I'm going to recommend you do. Now, I've had clients use that strategy for years. I've yet to have somebody come back to me pissed off. Oh, Joe, they were pissed that I didn't take them on. They're thankful. They go back to the person I referred to. Hey, I met with Joe, and we had a great meeting. He couldn't take us on because the fees would be too high, and he didn't want to just sell us on that. And I really appreciate that. And so we're going to go do this. But when we have more money, we're definitely going to go back and talk to him. That's what happens. That's what happens. This is, I don't care if you're 1 month in the business or 40 years in the business. All of you need to do a better job at this. We have another, 48 months of the baby boomer bow wave. Say that 5 times real fast. And I'm not saying not to do those other programs. Like I said, I won't get into any, but one of the online programs, they raised $26 million last year. So I got clients who rock that stuff really well. But you know what? They're also rocking this. So I want you to think okay, so let's just play this out. So let's say you're doing seminars. Great. Imagine your seminar program on top of a killer referral introduction game. How fast could you scale your business? I mean, if you're doing other things and have not mastered the referral introduction game, this will put your business development and growth on hyperspeed. But you got to execute. So it's not about you. So number one, never make this about you. It's about helping others. When you make it about helping others, it's altruistic. You'll do it. Number two, you'll suck at this in the short term. And I say this, and I put a smile on my face if you're watching me. A lot of advisors won't do it because they don't want to sound stupid doing it. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to sound stupid doing it for the first 5 to 10 times. Get over yourself and go have those conversations. I can go back to your first week in the business. You sucked at everything in this business. Maybe for the first 6 months, you sucked at everything. But yet here you are. So guess what? If you do enough reps, you'll suck less and get more. This is not rocket science. This is simple. What it really requires you to do is just have some faith in yourself, some courage, the willingness to have what you would perceive initially as uncomfortable conversations. But I will tell you, in the several decades I've taught this, about the 10th conversation, when you realize nobody's going to shoot you, right? What are you going to hear back? So here's failure rejection in this game. I can't really think of anyone right now. Or I'll keep you in mind. Or, hey, funny you should mention it. My buddy or X. So you'll get, I'll keep you in mind, to, hey, I don't know anyone right now, to, hey, I may have somebody. That's it. Those are the 3 possibilities. I've yet to have somebody come back to me and say, hey, I reminded my client here as a resource and they got pissed off at me. I just have never had that. I don't have that story for you guys. I don't. It requires you to get uncomfortable and do something that's slightly uncomfortable. But let's be very clear on this. I'm not asking you to cold call businesses. I'm not asking you to go downtown and walk into businesses and cold walk. I'm not asking you to do a triathlon or digging a ditch in August in Texas. I'm not asking you to do anything like that. You can sit in your air-conditioned or heated place and play one of the most, if not the most, lucrative business development game in our space. The referral introduction game. Don't overthink this. Just go do this. Now, I do have a masterclass, and I'll give it to you for free. All you have to do is go to MagellanNetwork.net, fill out an application, come in for 30 days. No, there's no charge. It's like a test thing, right? You come in, you play with us for a while, you'll get the masterclass, you'll see what it does, you'll get all the more verbiage and stuff like that. No harm, no foul. It's yours. If you don't want to do that, I've given you the framework here. Pretty simple. All right? So, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of Magellan Network Show. I'll see you guys again next week. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.